Welcome back to the blog, episode 11 of Bumblebee's build diary. I thought what I'd do is just show you what I found and what I think caused the bent valves. So what I found is that the valves, the inlet valves specifically, are not clearing the bore on each of the cylinders. On this one you can just see a shiny piece there, and then there's a mark down the side of the bore where the valve's been catching. Same on this one. In the middle one, which is where it bent the valve, there's a shiny piece you can just about see if the camera will focus on it, just in here where the valve has came straight down on the top, not gone down the bore at all, and it's bent over at an angle, and there's a mark you can see in the top of the piston there. That's where the edge of the valve bit in. And then finally on this last cylinder, again there's a score mark where the valve is scratching down the side of the bore. So the only way to get around it would be to pocket the block, which I don't want to have to do. It has worked on a 1380 engine before, but obviously the bores on the 1380 are just significantly bigger, that it gives room for the valves to move up and down without catching on anything. So the plan is to use the 8-port head off Christopher's engine that's in the car that's not in use anymore, or at the moment anyway, and put that on here. The only thing is we don't know what size the valves are and what size the combustion chamber is, so it'll be a case of taking it off, try it to see if it works, and then measure the valves and all that sort of stuff, so I can work out the proper compression ratio. So fingers crossed. So this is the 8-port head I'm going to use on Bumblebee. This is the mini space casting from mid-90s sometime, modified by Steve Harris Motorsport and used on his hill climber before I bought it. This car's just had a load of, well, just had, as in the past 2 years it's had some bodywork. It's not been put back together yet, so the engine's just sitting here looking sorry for itself. So it's been agreed that I can use this head. I did arrive to find that all the blue paper is missing out with the inlet ports, and a lot of it's on the floor, and the rest is piled up in there. So whether we've got lodgers or not, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to put some gloves on and have a poke about in there, see if there's anything living, and then set to taking this head off. Okay, then the cylinder head is off, and as you can see it's got bigger valves in as well. Quick measure tells me that the inlets are 37 and the exhausts are 30. This is the critical dimension, as pointed out before on the other head. This is a good amount thicker just in that central divider, so hopefully that valve there will clear the bore. But obviously I won't know until I get the trial build done back at the garage. What else? Oh, you can see also the lines around each of the combustion chambers. It's not just a dirty mark off the gasket, it's ever so slightly evidence of the firing on the gasket eating into the alloy head, which for any 8-port owners you should be aware that's why you have to use the Cometic gaskets that don't have the firings. In theory this could probably do with a tiny skim just to clean it up, but it's not that bad really. Once I get it properly cleaned I'll have a better look, but I think it's going to be alright. The exhaust ports, where are we at there? They're nowhere near as big as the ones on the other 8-port head here, but this is a lot newer casting, as you can see. This is one of the well, not the latest, but one of the mini spares castings. As you can see the proper casting number and that on the side of it, or on the front even. It's been machined if I can just hold it steady, just where the, I don't know if you can probably pick it out, but where the spark plugs go, it's been machined to make it slightly easy to get the spark plugs in. It's been, where's my finger, it's been bored out in here just ever so slightly, just to make it easier in there, just to get the plugs in and out, because it is normally a real bitch. Double valve springs, pretty normal stuff really. Steel caps. So we'll just put that on the other engine at home, tighten it up and do a trial build and see how we go. Hopefully it'll all clear, but time will tell. If not, the other 8-port head that's on the other car over there is a lot smaller combustion chambers, and the gap between the middle two is a lot more. I'll insert a picture of it here so you can see the difference. Right, quick tidy up with my tools, chuck them all back in the Porsche, sweep up and back home for tea. So here we have the two 8-port heads. The one in the foreground is the early casting with the 38mm inlets. I think the exhausts are probably 30 off the top of my head, I can't remember, we did measure them. And then the one at the back is the one I've just taken off Christopher's car. And the valves on that one, as best as I've measured them so far before I take them out, 37 and 30, so 1mm difference. When you look in the centre section here, you can see how thin that is and how close the valve is to that edge. In fact, it did pull a tiny section of it out when it bent, so it's slightly damaged, but it's alright. And then you look at that one and you can see how much thicker that is in there. It's possibly maybe twice as thick looking at it, I think. And also you can see a few differences in the castings. The machining there is a bit sort of rough and ready almost, compared to the later mini spares casting where it's nicely done, machined out. Yeah, just obviously the later one is just nicer really. And the other thing to note is on the mini spares one that the face is flat where the throttle bodies or air miles or whatever sit, and on this one, it's a bit of a special in that it's an angle, so it means your throttle bodies are pointing uphill, which is quite cool because they get a really good shot down into the valve in there. So you probably there you go. Ooh, there's my finger. It shows how open it is. And stick the torch in the inlet valve in the inlet port. It's just a straight shot straight onto the back of the valve in there. You obviously can't see that one until I get the valves popped out, but I've given it a clean up, and then I'm going to stick it on the block now, tighten it down, set some tappets and see if anything catches. I know the cam timing's spot on because I went through it about 5 times last night, checking it, and it's right as per the figures I have. So we'll just see if this head catches on this block and go from there. Well, this looks like a successful test. I've set the tappets roughly, I set them at 15 thou, tighten the head down. It's not fully 100% torqued, but it's as tight as I can get it with a ratchet, so it'll be near enough. And as you can see, the engine turns over repeatedly and doesn't catch anywhere. So that's good. A couple of things to pay attention to. Bit of play in that rocker, and I could probably get a shim in there. And there's one here that's got a chunk missing out of it for some reason. I know we did have a instance of something came loose in the in the rocker cover. I can't remember what it was that came loose, but the damage you can see on there, and possibly that lump out the back and these little marks on some of these, is when that bit of metal, whatever it was flying about inside the rocker cover and getting trapped. There's some marks on the valves, or not on the valves, on the face of the head. You probably can't see them. And on the bottom of each of the rockers where whatever it was working its way around the engine, and it was banging and rattling. But I can't remember exactly what it was. Don't know. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. But there is a bit of damage and a bit of tweaking to sort out, and a bit of playing some of these rockers, so I can see if I can eliminate it. Also see if the solid rocker spacer leftovers I've got will fit in these gaps, just to stiffen it up. I also might quickly just try the MED fancy dancy ones that I got. I can't remember what they're called at the moment. Just purely out of interest to see how well they fit on there as well. But I'll take the head off now, take it through into the workshop, and lap the valves in and put new valve stem oil seals on as well. And then it can go back on, and then it can all go back in the car again.